Hello, writers. Have you ever bought a writing craft book someone says you just have to read?
Is it still sitting on your shelf? Have you even cracked the spine?
That's totally me.
Don't ask Renee how many craft books she owns.
Why do we keep buying these books we never read?
We all want to improve as writers, but that's hard to do alone.
That's why we started the Words to Write By podcast, to tackle these books together, chapter by chapter, and learn from their advice.
Or not. Sometimes they're wrong.
Hi, I'm Renee Nelson, former college writing instructor turned full-time writer and podcaster. After many years, I finally have a complete draft of my memoir.
And I'm Kim Smagato, author of the humorous fantasy novel Our Comeback Tour is Slaying Monsters, which is the first book in the Boy Bands and Dragons series, released by Riverfolk Publishing.
And now, on with the podcast.
Welcome to Words to Write By.
Welcome.
And we are getting serious on The Artist's Way, our new book. But before we get to that, let's talk about Process Group.
Process Group. It meets on Wednesdays at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. You can find it on meetup.com. We're the Words to Write By Process Group, and you can find a link to it on our website. We are a group of writers who just hang out and chat about writing and our ups and our downs, and it's a really fun group, a really good community, and we hope to see you there. Oh, and it's free.
Yes. And, you know, part of a book like this, Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, is that it's bringing up a lot of imposter syndrome and blocks we have and things that get in the way of our creativity. And coming together in a process group and hearing other people talk about their issues or ways they've overcome is actually a really good healing as well.
Yeah. Hang-ups do take a center stage sometimes, and that's good. We need to talk about them. Well, at least Julia Cameron thinks we do. But yes, it is very helpful at the process group talking about our hang-ups and then people helping decode why that is or why it's false and things to get around it. So if you would like little pep talks, come hang out with us.
So definitely blocks and trauma and things like that are a big part of why she thinks that we are not reaching our artistic potential.
Yeah, and she's not wrong.
So the question I always have is, like, if I don't have major artistic blocks, is it still useful for me? So that's a question I have about this.
That's good, because I have lots of artistic blocks, and I'm hoping this will help. So far, though, I'm not so sure. You seem pretty together, though, out of the pair of us.
Well, as a non-artist, I'm great. But, the question.
Yes.
The way the book is structured is there is one chapter per week for the next 3 months.
Dear God. Yes, there is. We are on week 1.
I think the good thing about this is it's forcing us to actually commit. Even if we aren't releasing these podcasts every week, we are doing them every week because I do not want to be doing this for 6 months.
Neither do I. No, I want to get to a serious book after this one.
You don't think this is serious?
I mean, seriously funny.
With characters like, miserable millionaire Edwin.
Oh, I'm going to turn him into a meme on the Snark Notes.
I feel like he should be a Little Men's book or something on them,
Yeah.
The Little Men, Little Women. Do you remember those books?
I never read Little Men. I didn't know there was a Little Men.
The Mr. Men, sorry. It almost feels like a Mr. Men. Mr. Men books were a series, and I gave them away to our nephew because they're wonderful, but a series of little tiny books that are like handheld that were like 20, 25 pages, and it was about some character like Mr. Angry or Mr. Sleepy, and it was a little adventure of him, and like, whether or not they learned a lesson, but they were all kind of like fun little kid books.
Okay. Nope.
Oh, anyway.
Never heard of them. Okay. Well,
her characters remind me a little bit of that.
Maybe I should go find that online, but I mean, I would get in trouble for probably reusing that artwork, but you never know.
The other thing about these chapters is they're a little bit nebulous. So we're going to try to have kind of go by her. They're not bullet points. They're like just like, sections. We'll see if we can keep to that particular section. Okay. So week 1 is called Recovering a Sense of Safety.
As an artist.
And she says, the retask exercises aim to allow you to establish a sense of safety, which will enable you to explore your creativity with less fear.
Okay.
Do you feel afraid to explore your creativity?
I mean, I'm a little afraid to explore why it's hard for me to write.
Okay. You're not feeling safe about this chapter, but overall your creativity you feel pretty comfortable with?
Like my abilities?
Yeah.
Oh no. I mean, I got so many issues. Oh my God. Yeah. No, I procrastinate. There's reasons. There's good reasons, or well, there are reasons to procrastinate. And no, I don't feel solid as an artist. That is an issue. So this is something that I was like, okay, cool. Maybe this will help.
Okay. So the first section is called shadow artists, and she defines what a shadow artist is, or characteristics of a shadow artist.
Yes, she begins by saying, caught between the dream of action and the fear of failure, shadow artists are born. Okay, so in the next page, she's got a pretty good definition of what this is. They're too intimidated to become artists themselves, very often too low in self-worth to even recognize that they have an artistic dream. These people become shadow artists instead. Unable to recognize that they themselves may possess the creativity they so admire, they often date or marry people who actively pursue the art career they themselves secretly long for.
Or another example is somebody that goes into art therapy. So, they're working with children, or a teacher that's teaching art to kids. Or the comment about movie critics all wanting to actually be directors, but they were stifled. So they want to get as close as they can to the art that they love, but they don't feel that they can create. So maybe they teach, or they make commentary, or they do YouTube videos about it. So I would say, some of that, right, the critics are creative. People that, do commentary are creative, but maybe they're not creative in the way they really want to be.
It could be. It's that whole negative adage about, like, if you can't write, teach.
I bet you heard that one a few times.
Yeah. Or there's the literature professor. Well, they can critique it, but can they write it? And the answer is, I don't know. Maybe.
So I know a literature professor, and at a certain point she decided that yes, she would write it, and she found it was darn hard. Made her respect a lot more the work she was evaluating, because just because you know how to do it doesn't translate into doing it. However, this is more of a person that wants to do it, but she wasn't afraid to try it and to go into that area. But we're talking about people that cling to being shadow artists as opposed to actually expressing themselves through art.
Yeah. They're not committing to being the artist. What they do instead is they hang out with other artists. They find adjacent careers, and they're afraid to, quote unquote, plunge.
And in the case of miserable millionaire Edwin, he gifted an artist with a year's living expenses so that she could pursue her dreams. Doesn't that sound a little sketch to you?
It doesn't sound very real.
Well, actually, honestly, when people have a lot of money, and people do give money to other artists to pursue their aim.
Yeah, but not a random person they found.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't a random person. I'm sure he saw her work somewhere or whatever. I can say that for a fact that at a certain point, my grandmother, and when she was in her late 70s, found a promising opera singer that she thought had real talent, and she was like giving a certain amount of money to her to help enter competitions and do things like that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What happened to the opera singer?
Never actually met her. It was just somebody that she was giving money to. I'm sure she never got very far, but she was given a chance to do these things, and
Right.
That's what's required. So I think there are a lot of people that are patrons of the arts that, that maybe are shadow artists, or that's their way of contributing. That's the way of being part of the community. Being a patron of someone gets you into the artist circles.
Right. You can support the arts, I guess, by not finding not just one person, though. You could, donate to the creative endowment for the arts or something, or like an opera house or something, right?
Right, you could do that too. But part of being an shadow artist, I think, is that you want to get close to the artist.
Right.
It's more than just simply knowing that you're producing art and seeing art. It's like you want to be part of that community, and you don't feel like you are creative enough to belong to that community. So you come up with workarounds that get you into that community.
Money.
If you're rich, yes, if you can give money directly to things, you get involved. Was it Frankly Mr. Shaky, this condition? It's a Smith song about the artist basically dissing the patron that's giving him money.
Oh, I don't know that song.
Oh, that's a good one.
Anyway, so same topic, but slightly off. If you are just joining us for this book, we've complained about this before, at least I have. The examples of the people that she describes in this book as being real people, as like this is an example of somebody who's done this. They're really bad. What was the name of this dude? Edwin the Millionaire?
Yes, miserable Edwin the Millionaire.
Miserable Edwin the Millionaire. Yeah. So that is all of her examples as people. I would just say that's kind of sus. But yes, I'm sure there are patrons. I mean, there is Patreon, right?
Yeah, and part of the deal with Patreon is that you give your subscribers certain perks because they're subscribers. And at the highest levels, you are very engaged with them.
Oh, and there's Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a form of patronage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, back in the day, and maybe this is still going on and it's just not on our radar because we're not those people, but that was a lot of the way that artists continued, right, to make their art.
Patronage has always been critical to an artist because an artist does not make money doing the thing that they find artistic. Right. At best, they'll get money to something that maybe is tangential to the artist's quality. The other option you have if you're a shadow artist is that you can marry an artist. We got Jerry, who began to date Lisa, a gifted but broke freelance artist.
Tale as old as time.
Exactly. So there's that option too.
Okay, yes. Apparently there is that option.
Very direct support.
Right. The key here is that they are a shadow artist because they are not, quote unquote, taking the plunge. Here's the thing. This is what I don't like about this. She says that intended fiction writers often go into newspaper writing or advertising where they can use their gift without taking the plunge into their dreamed of fiction writing careers.
One could also say that gifted writers go into newspapers and advertising because they actually want to pay the bills, while not being in a miserable desk job. So they take their creativity and they express it in a way that pays money for it.
Yeah, they don't want to starve. She does a lot of, we're going to get into this, but things that piss me off. She's a little rude.
Okay.
Right? She's a bit privileged because she assumes that this plunge is just like some inner block, to overcome. The plunge is poverty, or at least it could be crippling poverty for some artists. It's not always just a matter of just follow your dreams and it'll be great. Oh, yeah? So an artist who's really, really poor, there's a good chance they won't make it. There's a lot of people that don't, and they did try. How many waiters and waitresses are there in LA who are really just actors trying to get jobs?
Mm-hmm.
It sucks to be, you don't make very much money, and it is poverty, and it sucks, man. And it's dangerous out there. And I don't think she's taking it very seriously.
I think it's because she's got this dichotomy that either you are all in on art or you are a shadow artist. You can't be the drama teacher in a high school and also, perform in the community theater every couple of seasons. You could say that person's an artist. They're teaching, but they're also performing. Maybe not on the big stage, maybe not like all out. As far as the other thing about poverty, you don't necessarily have to be that dire poverty. You just have people relying on you. If you have kids or family members you're supporting, that takes a lot. That takes a regular job with healthcare. How about that?
There you go. Yeah.
Some people do make it work. I'm not saying that it's impossible. Yes, there are tons of waiters in LA that want to be actors, and some of them end up being actors.
Some of them, yes, but there's a huge percentage that don't. And I'm not saying don't take the risk. I'm just saying that she's discounting how, messed up it could be. Like how dangerous it is to take that plunge in the first place.
Well, in a way, when you don't have anybody relying on you and you can couch surf at a friend's place or whatever, that is the time to take the risk. And you're under 27, so maybe you're on your parents' health care. That is kind of the time to go out and do that stuff.
Sure. But even then, I would argue you could be really hungry. You could be sleeping on couches, and there's lots of drugs happening in the houses of those couches, right? Like you're living in bad neighborhoods. You're not surrounding yourself with people that have a good head on their shoulders. Those couches are flea ridden, and it's not saying anything bad about the people that live there, but those people have also been reduced because who's going to hang out with you?
But Renee, tons of people live in poverty and really shitty conditions with absolutely no artistic outlet too.
That's what I'm saying is those are the couches you'll be sleeping on.
Yes, I understand. That is a really good public service announcement. Basically, yes, do not read this book and quit your job and go to LA. or like,
Well, that's what she's trying to say to do.
that kind of is what she's saying to do. But yeah, so can there be a balance? Can there be a way of having a job and also being creative at the same time?
Right. And she doesn't go into that.
Maybe we got that example later on.
I guess. No, I know there's a way to do it, but I feel like she's shitting on people that are trying to make a living. Just healthcare, like you said.
Yeah, but that's the reason why you do it before you're 27.
I guess. I have a pretty brutal story before I was 27, so let me tell you.
Okay, let's back up here. You had a very brutal upbringing.
And a lot of people do.
A lot of people do.
A lot of them are artists.
But a lot of people don't.
All right.
Let's assume that most people that pick up this book have a balanced enough life that can afford to get a book and read the book in the afternoons and do the artist dates and all that stuff.
Okay.
We're getting off topic.
Sorry. I get mad. Okay. All right. I wrote a little essay in the margin here. I won't go into it.
Do you want to have the comments about shadow artists?
So their hangups, she says, they are self-critical. They're mean to themselves. They judge themselves harshly, she says. And they have lots of regrets. Shadow artists, through no fault of their own, hear the distant piping of the dream, but are unable to make their way through the cultural maze to find it. In no way does she say that these people are happy doing what they're doing. It's almost like I wonder if she sits around in an opera and sees people working behind the scenes and thinks, oh, they're shadow artists.
If you're working in an opera, you're...
No, people like behind the scenes, like behind the stage.
Well, those people are artists too, because they're actually... A failed opera singer does not go and help do set design. Okay. That's a whole different area. People that love being stage managers, that's where they want to be. They want to be just behind getting everything together.
But then they're surrounding themselves with artists and adjacent jobs, and they're not pursuing their own art.
No.
That's what it sounds like she's saying.
Does she say stage manager?
No, but like that's what she's saying. She's saying that they find adjacent jobs.
No, so it wouldn't be like a stage manager. What she's talking about is the people that are leading people to the seats.
No, because she says newspaper and advertising. That's a serious job. Critics, blocked directors. Those people make lots of money and they make very creative choices all the time and they get paid for it. And she lumped those people in with those shadow artists. She says, well, they're not writing the novels. They're just critiquing them.
Mm-hmm. That's true. The whole art of critiquing is an art of itself. So You're right. She is dissing on that. I think the reason why she put that one is because everybody loves the story about the critic that really wants to be a creator.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, you're the scientist. I want to ask about this. She said the phrase Darwinian determinism. Is that like...
Technically, Darwinianism doesn't have determinism because everything's up for grabs and what succeeds. Determinism is like, like some sort of set thing.
Okay, so it's not a scientific term.
I don't know. It's not a scientific term.
Okay, so yeah, all right.
Yeah. So the other part of this is, and I'm sure this will come up again, is the whole idea of someone not being properly nurtured when they were a child, their artistry and not being nurtured as a child. And that's part of the reason why they have a hang up. And I think most of like the exercises we'll do and all that often go back to those early stages back when you were a child or a young adult and the influences. This implies that the main problem you run into is your mom's not supportive. Your dad says you'll never make a career in it. You get like poo-pooed and like people are like, don't do the art, do something else. So the idea is that if you just had a parent that was supportive, it would make all the big difference in the world. And that's not the case, I don't think. I think plenty of us had parents that were supportive and that still we were not willing to jump into doing art, or we didn't consider ourselves artists when we were younger. Mm-hmm. Part of it's because if a parent really wants to get their kid into art, being an artist, believing in themselves, it takes more than just positive. It really is looking at what the kid's doing, figuring out what classes or things they can take, finding other kids that are doing it. When they run into a situation that's hard, like some sort of like, filling out contest application or something like that, sitting down and helping that happen, making sure that deadlines get met. There's a lot of executive work that goes into raising an artistic child. I just wanted to say that there.
Right. And I'm just going to talk about my mom. And I'm probably going to talk about her a lot. She really liked this book. I don't know if she actually read the whole thing, but she liked this book. She'd like to talk about it. She was very much into the woo-woo stuff. So she would have been totally like a big Julia Cameron fan. So my mother had the opposite. Her mother was a severe alcoholic, very mean, abusive. Her father pretty much abandoned them. And my mom used her art growing up as a way to escape.
Mm-hmm.
So it can work both ways, right? Yes, it's very hard to build an artist, right? As a parent that's supportive and finding the classes and all this other stuff. But even in abuse, in abusive households, children who are artists could become artists. So just saying, it can go both ways.
Well, it's interesting also, your mother reading this book, she didn't need this like, do I want to be an artist or not? She was an artist from the beginning. Would you ever say she fell into a role of shadow artist, or do you think she was always pursuing art in some way, form?
I think she was pursuing art. She was a severe flake. Like, she was a big flake. She had a hard time focusing. And back in the 90s, she did have some success, and she had an agent, and she had some artwork in galleries. And it's like she got successful just enough, and then somehow it all went south. Like, she just couldn't force herself to continue. You know, she was pretty much pursuing that the rest of her life. Just not successfully. You know, she just stopped producing work on a regular basis. And it was like, what are you doing, Mom? And so I think part of this book was her trying to find whatever drive she had before, and she never got it back. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so under this section, protecting the child within, mm-hmm. She goes down into what you shouldn't do. Because like Kim was saying, we don't really have control over like who our parents were and what our lives were, and if they were giving us classes or they were abusive. So now we have this inner child that we are in charge of nurturing.
Now that you're old enough to buy this book, you need to put the work in.
Yes. Essentially, she breaks down what you shouldn't do.
Okay.
What you should not do as an artist.
What should you not do?
She says that judging your early artistic efforts is artist abuse, which I think is a really cool way of saying it. So I want to throw a bone there. I like that. Did you think that was good advice?
Yeah. A part of embarking in art is your first attempts are going to suck. In order to build up the skills to be good at it, you have to plow through all the unsuccessful stuff in order to learn it. A writer that is continually rewriting the first chapter of their novel is never going to go any further. The writer that basically puts out a first crappy novel and gets all the way to the end has learned so much that then when they start the next project, it's going to be a better novel.
Yeah. Progress, not perfection, is what we should be asking ourselves. We've heard that forever.
Yeah. How much better have you gotten? That's another reason why people do exercises and books and all that. You can see how you progress, what you get better at.
Yep. We want to be great, immediately great, but that is not how recovery works. So I guess in terms of trying to heal your inner child, when we come back to the art, we think it'll be great. It'll have to be great. And relying on that when it doesn't work out that way, it's bad.
Right. So if you're using art as your justification, if you are a shadow artist and you decide that in fact you are going to write the great American novel, you should not assume that that's going to fix everything else in your life. Is that what she's saying? Or something different?
No, you sit down to write the great American novel and it's not great at all.
Right. But is the act of doing it going to fix other things? Or
no, she says, quote, it's an awkward, tentative, even embarrassing process. There will be many times when we won't look good to ourselves or anyone else. We need to stop demanding that we do. It is impossible to get better and look good at the same time.
So actually, that's not talking about so much the work itself, but like you as how you look. If you're going to be pursuing this, you're not going to suddenly get, all the fame and money and isn't that person cool?
No, I think she's actually talking about the work itself. She says,
okay.
Too far, too fast, and we can undo ourselves. Creative recovery is like marathon training. You want to log 10 slow miles for every one fast mile. This can go against your ego's grain. I mean, I guess, you know what? It can go either way. Okay. It's so vague. It is so vague that it could apply to both the work itself and the artist within. So...
yeah, that is one of the issues here, isn't it? That a lot of this stuff sounds good. I will say, this section ends with the great line. The question is, the person will say, but do you know how old I will be by the time I learn to really play the piano, act, paint, write a decent play? Yes, the same age you will be if you don't. So I think that's actually a very good line right there. you are, quote, a shadow artist, you know, if you are an art therapy teacher and secretly you really want to make the pottery yourself and you just stay as an art therapy teacher, because if you work on the pottery, it still won't necessarily get you anywhere. 10 years from now, you'll still be an art therapist and you won't have done this other stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good reminder. Even if you don't do the whole jump completely into your new artistic endeavor, but you just simply start doing art as part of your life, it won't be great, but you'll have done something over that period of time.
Yeah.
Other than just not.
Yeah. She's got some good zingers. I mean, these would look really good on a banner online with her picture, right? You must be willing to be a bad artist and give yourself permission to be a beginner.
Right. When you're starting out being an artist, you actually won't justify being an artist by the quality of work you're putting out. And it's a miserable stereotype to be a bad artist, but everyone has to start there.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm bad at this because I would rather sit around and watch Netflix than allow myself to make mistakes. And I make a lot of them.
I'm constantly reteaching myself not to edit the darn work, but just to write it out and fix it later. And I'll think that I've gotten it, and then another couple months I'll look back and I'll realize, oh yeah, I'm doing that again.
Yeah, it's weird how it keeps coming back.
So not only do I have to allow myself to suck, I have to relearn how to allow myself to suck again and again and again, which is why this kind of advice comes up again and again, because it's continually useful.
Yeah. I kind of wished she focused on this more than she does like the activities. They're kind of adjacent to it, but this is something I would have liked to jump in more.
Like, it would be good to have some tasks that allow you to be a bad artist and still be happy about it.
Yeah. In writing, because I like to be a creative person. Like right now I'm building a gingerbread haunted house for my friend's Halloween party. And I've gone all out, man. I'm going crazy. And it's so much fun. Stuff like that, I don't mind it turning out crappy. Like baking, I don't mind if the decoration isn't perfect or anything. But for some reason, when it's writing, I have a totally different set of standards and hangups. Anyway,
so we got now, next section is your enemy within, core negative beliefs. There is a list of 20, because of course we can have a nice even number. The idea is that there are these negative held beliefs that will stymie you or block you from getting creative.
Right.
And they basically, when you're about ready to sit down at the paper and start writing, these come into your head. Did you feel that any of these 20 applied to you?
A few, but they're pretty bad.
The setup here is, I can't become a successful, prolific, creative artist because ...
The first one. Read the first one.
Everyone will hate me.
Oh, yeah, that's specific. That makes so much sense. Why would anybody hate you? Who cares? Like,
okay, so that one does not apply to you?
No, it doesn't apply to anybody.
Did you find any in there that you did think applied to you?
Okay. Number 11.
I chose number 11 too.
I will do bad work and not know it and look like a fool. Mm-hmm. A fool.
Yes.
That actually comes back later. We're going to talk about a horror story. I think my horror story falls into that one.
Right, because everyone's seen someone that makes bad art and is gosh darn proud of it, and you just cringe inside and say, no, it's not very good. Everyone knows someone that's a poet that's written some poetry.
Yeah.
And yet, like we said, part of it's doing it badly. And part of being an artist isn't about the final product, but the process. I don't think I actually need to be afraid of being a bad artist to other people, because I'm so critical of my work that it's not going to get out until at least it's, above average. Bad stuff of mine is never going to get out.
That's not true for me at all.
Really? You think you've got some actual bad artwork
out
there?
Yeah. I have a block where I'll write stuff that I think is great, and then months later I'll be like, oh God.
But does that stuff make it out into the printed world? Do you post that in your blog?
I don't have a blog.
I know, but do you send it out to your relatives, to Max's friends, and say, look, here's my stuff? Or
I don't do any of that.
Do you have a poetry reading where you do it and you have people come in and listen to it?
It goes,
So basically, you also are critical enough that by the time that art goes out, you know it won't make you look like a fool.
no, okay, so the filters are not me. I have learned that I have to rely on other people to filter out the crap.
Okay.
So it's probably why I'm so open to throwing things away. I'm just like, oh, edit, cool. Delete, sure. Because I just assume it sucks and I can't tell. I have gotten a lot better. I mean, over the years, my taste and my skill have gotten a little bit more in alignment. So I can kind of tell when something's not right. But there are chapters in my memoir that I think are cringe as fuck. I'm just like, oh my God, why did I think this was a good idea? And still thinking back on it like, oh God, oh, that's bad. That's bad. And I spent years working on that. I don't know. For me, It's still, that's why I circled it. Mm-hmm. For me, it's still kind of a sore spot for me where sometimes I write things and I'm like, wow, that's good. And it is. And sometimes I write things and I'm like, oh, Jesus, I'm so glad I didn't try to send that out anywhere.
So I circled number 12.
Me too. Wow. That's interesting.
So number 12 is I can't be a successful, prolific, creative artist because I will feel too angry. And there's two things here. First, I will feel angry that I can't take the vision in my head and get it down on paper. Like I will be the frustrated artist because I can't reconcile the perfect vision in my head by what I come down on paper. It'll make me unhappy and angry that I can't achieve what I want to achieve. And the other one is that I will feel angry because I'll look at other people's stuff out there that isn't as good as mine and they're getting, credit and getting positive reinforcement and all that. And I'll be angry that it wasn't happening to me. So it's both a matter of being angry that I'm not living up to my potential or being angry that I'm not being recognized. I don't want to be in that state. So that would be a reason where, I'd say, today I'm just not happening. I'm going to go out and do some nice things and feel better and meditate and just let it all go because I don't want to be angry. Was that how you felt?
Yeah, that was really good. I think a lot of artists deal with that.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to be that kind of person.
No, you don't. You're like, no, you want to be the person that's like, I put all my all into my work and it shouldn't have anything to do with getting published or getting validated outside too much. But really, it kind of does. And then when you see your goal executed badly by somebody else, there's that, what Anne Lamott was talking about, the jealousy kind of thing. Yeah. It happens to me all the time. I'm like, how the hell did that get published? And then I think about my own work. I'm like, hey, I think what makes me angry is a variation of what you talked about. It's almost the same thing. I feel like I know a lot of the strings that get pulled in the back room. Like Hogwarts platform 4 3/4, 3 and whatever. Like I've been on the other side of it and I'm not been like the wizard, but I could see, I was like the janitor looking at all of it. I could have been a wizard maybe, and maybe even went to wizarding school, but ain't quite like, so I can see who's getting the help and who's not.
You don't have to use an analogy. You were in academia and there were periods of time where other people were there were connections that you did not have that prevented you from going further. You were in an MFA program. There were connections that you did not have that prevented you from.
See, I don't even like saying that because it's like, then that makes it sound like I'm just being like a sourpuss.
Exactly. And it also kind of curdles you inside because some people get lucky in certain things. And if you're going to get bitter and angry about it, at the same time,
but at the same time, some people really just, their work is just okay. And maybe they just didn't do good. And then you kind of have to admit that, like at some point, maybe I was just like, it was just okay. It wasn't good enough. It was good enough. I don't know. It's like, it's horrible, negative self-talk.
But there's the angry artist that just like, I'm damn if they're going to stop me. I'm going to keep pushing on. I'm angry. I'm focused. I'm going to produce great work. And I don't want to be that person either.
Why?
I don't want to be an angry person that's producing great work. And it's the anger that's driving me, my desire to show people that. And I know it works for certain people, but it's not who I want to be. I will not live a life that I want to live being that kind of artist.
I was that kind of artist, and it was very effective until it wasn't. And that's why I did all the therapy. All right.
Any other ones?
I have one more. How about you?
Nope, those are mine too.
Okay. The last one was number 20, and I like that. It's too late. If I haven't become a fully functioning artist yet, I never will. I had all the training. I went to wizarding school, and I'm hanging out in that what's the tavern, drinking my butter beer, not working. Maybe I'm even teaching. I'm teaching people how to do spells. I can do low-level spells and stuff, but am I a successful wizard? I don't know what success really means here, but I do feel like it's too late. Like I've had all the opportunity, had a lot of opportunities, and I started teaching, and then a lot of them fell through my fingertips, and I've been trying to claw them back. And at some point I'm like, when am I done? When is this becoming too much of like a sore spot and I need to just like stop? Mm-hmm. Would I be happier if I stopped?
That was one she didn't have in there. Like, she have, I will be unhappy.
No, she doesn't have that. She has the I will have to be alone, which that brings us to the next darn thing.
Okay, so which ones didn't you agree with?
Well, some of them I thought were stupid. How about that? All right.
I also said that the I can't spell applies to me, but honestly, I let that one go years ago.
Computers, dude. Yeah, who cares?
Maybe 30 years ago was more of a deal.
Yeah. Okay. So the dumb stuff she said, one of them is, I will find out that I am gay. What the F is that about? What does that have to do with being a creative artist?
Well, first of all, 30 years ago when this was written. And second of all, if you are, let's take the premise that the shadow artist is real. If you are a shadow artist who is directing high school plays, if you're tapping down certain aspects of yourself, like, here's the thing. I think people that feel very constrained in the lifestyle that they live, where they don't quite get heterosexuality as much as other people around them, might fear that in fact they are gay.
But what does that have to do with being a successful, prolific, creative artist? And that resulting in you realizing you're gay. I mean, I guess you would be pursuing a community that is okay with that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it might be that, well, for one thing, your spouse might not like it.
I guess. It's a weird thing to worry about.
We got the whole range here of people that have this book. We have people that are like artists that just want to have something to help them get along and that get them through. And there are people out there that are extremely repressed. This book goes the whole gamut.
Well, it does go the whole gamut because you know what the next example is? I will be stuck straight if gay, which is so problematic. I just don't.
I like number 14. I will get self-destructive and drink and drug or sex myself to death.
Awesome. Yes, let's do it. Woohoo!
I mean, if you tried it afterwards, you'd have quite the material to work on. And, like she said, she used to be alcoholic. So obviously.
Right. And a lot of artists drink, apparently, in the movies. Edgar Allan Poe, everyone likes to talk about him. Edgar Burroughs doing all the drugs. Yeah, I guess. Okay, this next one. I will get cancer, AIDS, or a heart attack, or the plague.
If I do art, I will get cancer.
What the F is going on here? Was she bored writing these? As bored as I am reading them?
30 years ago, if you do the idea that, you might find out that you're actually gay, then chances are the AIDS might go along with that. But...
Right. Okay. Well, then put those two together. Then that's fucked up too, because then you're just assuming that someone's going to get AIDS if they're. And
also nobody gets the plague. The plague happens everywhere. Nobody gets it. It's not an individual thing. If the plague's going through, that is beyond whatever you are doing with your life.
I mean, oh God, these examples.
I will feel bad because I don't deserve to be successful. If I am an artist and I'm successful, I'm then going to feel bad because I don't feel like I deserved it.
Oh, you think that's not a good one?
If you're sitting down in the morning to write and you've got a particular hang up, I don't think it's like, I just can't write because I will be successful at this. I'll write something beautiful and it'll be published and, I'll know I don't deserve the success. So I better not even touch the paper because, there are other people out there that I would feel bad about if I was successful and they weren't. Because I don't deserve it. And they deserve it. But, I'm better and talented than they are.
I guess. I do kind of understand this one a little bit. Partly because I am privileged enough to have the time to work on it. And there are a lot of people that don't. And they're probably better artists. They definitely are better artists than me. which is why it's good when you do make it to make space for those that normally wouldn't get access.
So like you're feeling like I'm lucky enough to have my desk and I have the rest of the day to write, and other people are not in that situation. And I almost would feel guilty if I was to produce something because those other people don't get that.
I do think that, yeah. That is a hang up. I mean, not enough to stop me from writing, but I do think about it. I have that guilt.
Also, number 17, I will die.
My grandma used to say, this is one of the things she used to say. She was from the South. She goes, when men get sick, they're gonna die. So if you become a creative artist, you're gonna die. Sorry.
Further simplification, she's got 2 columns of negative beliefs and positive beliefs that people believe about artists. People believe that artists are drunk. The positive alternative is that artists could be sober.
Profound.
A positive, people believe that artists are loners. And I will say that actually for a lot of people that are artists, that's kind of one of those bonus points that you don't have to be around other people all day. But the positive alternative is that artists could be user-friendly.
And then come to process group. We have process group. I'll never want to say
The other great line was that young male artists may have the personal negative. Male artists are either gay or impotent. This notion is picked up from a teacher or from reading too much about Fitzgerald or Hemingway. So I'm not as versed in these things, but it sounded like Fitzgerald had a hell of a life at certain points. I mean, Hemingway got the girls too.
I don't know. I don't know. It's very odd. You know, she says, in a female artist, the artists are promiscuous cliche may have in its place a personal negative. I don't understand where does that come from? Are there any really promiscuous artists, like female? Is that like a trope that I'm not aware of?
The word promiscuous is a very negative presented.
For women.
Yes. And I don't think it's nearly as negative. I mean, there's a lot of artists out there that have female artists who have a lot of fun.
Sure.
And more power to them. I don't think that's nearly the same hang up. Although it's one thing to be positive and enamored from some famous artist, woman that does all that sort of stuff, but not actually feel comfortable doing it yourself.
I guess. Well, think about it this way. If you're having a hard time getting the dates, get creative, according to Julia Cameron, because then you might get some. Oh, this last one is actually pretty interesting conversation. The negative belief is that to be creative, you have to be born, not made, versus you can be discovered and recovered as an artist. I don't know. Do you have this like either you're talented or not, born talented? Can it be taught?
A lot of these ideas, when spoken out loud, you realize that they are stupid and they don't apply. But when they're not spoken aloud, when they're just kind of in the back of your mind and you're sort of thinking it, it is very easy to think that certain people are born more, because some people are born talented. Some individuals at a very young age exhibit artistic ability that you don't have. There are evidence of artists being, quote, born. But then when you think about it, when you look at the words, when you actually read it aloud and say, well, are all artists born and not made? No, of course not. Because there's all these counterexamples.
Yeah, there's a lot of counterexamples.
Maybe what the focus of this chapter is just to say all the stupid stuff that you've been kind of carrying around your head, but you've never actually said it, so you don't actually see how stupid it is. And then you can say, yeah, that's a really stupid belief to have.
I think it's also important to know that these ideas don't always just come from the self, because there's a lot of assholes in the creative world who perpetuate these negative beliefs. I know creative writing teachers who have said, you can't really teach creative writing. I remember once I'm in a class, a poetry workshop class, talking to someone I didn't really even know. We're just chatting before class starts. And I'm taking a class on, how to teach creative writing. She goes, oh, you're going to teach? And I said, I doubt it. I don't like being critical of beginning artists because I think that's just wrong. And she says, oh, that's why I totally want to do it. Some people just should not be doing it. It was so toxic.
Let's step back as the older, more mature people that we become, and don't look at that person as your classmate. Look back at that student you once knew who had a delusional idea in her mind that she was going to get paid money to be a creative writing teacher. And shred her students, and people would keep hiring her to come in and shred people's ego, because once she actually got into the situation, she realized, I need these paychecks. I need these positive recommendations. I am going to smile and say, yes, there is a lot of great potential here. And then think about how miserable she felt going home saying, and I had to say this one guy's work was good again because I need the money. God, I hate this.
I love you, Kim. I love your attitude. I wish I knew you when I was.
So let's go with positive affirmations.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That is supposed to be the elixir.
Do you remember the Jack Handy's line?
Yeah, I loved it.
How did it go? How did it go?
Oh, gosh. Oh, it's been so long. I have to. Oh, I know his voice. I can hear his voice in my head. He looked in the mirror. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And gosh darn it, people like me. It was so good.
So affirmations. Apparently, if you just tell yourself these things enough, it's going to sink in. She gives an example where she actually says you should write down an affirmation 10 times and see how it feels. With the affirmation being, I, Kim, am a brilliant and prolific potter, painter, poet, or whatever you are. I, Kim, am a brilliant and prolific writer. And write it down 10 times. Did you do this?
I didn't write that one.
No. What did you write down?
I am better than I think I am. Like, I'm a better writer than I think I am.
That's a good one. I just grabbed her example, and I found that for me, at first, I was self-conscious, and then I kind of went into autopilot for the rest. And about at the number 10, I looked and I realized I did not feel any different. But I took a very generic. You took something that was much more personal. So how did that feel, writing it down 10 times?
I would say that about halfway through the list, I was afraid that Max would walk by and read these, like this line I'm doing over and over again, and like roll his eyes or something.
So you were very self-conscious about it.
Yeah. Like, I was already determined that an affirmation wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You're sciencey. Do you know if they work or not?
Yeah. That's cognitive science, and I got a degree in bacteriology. Bacteria don't work that way, so that's a whole different area of science. Okay. But I don't know. It is interesting that you did get a reaction while you're writing it. Like, yeah. It was pinging some part of your brain. What was the other one you had? Did you write it down? Or
yeah. There will not be serious social consequences to writing my book. I was bullied a lot as a kid, so I worry that it's going to draw attention to myself in a way that I don't like, or that is damaging. So I wrote it over and over again. I got kind of bored.
It's a bit like getting punished, right?
That was a punishment. My grandmother made me write my name 100 times because the kindergarten teacher told her I didn't know how to spell it.
Oh, well, my mother was more creative like that. I will not tease my sister at the dinner table.
Did it work?
Yes, it worked in the sense that we didn't do that stuff again. Or when she warned us, we stopped doing it because we didn't want the consequences. So it worked very well that way.
I will not fib. That was another one, Grandma. Like, you lied, yeah. You called it a fib.
It's a great parental tool. What I'm saying is writing something repetitively clicks back into that. This is a punishment I have to write down. And I don't think the affirmations are meant to be a punishment.
You know what would make it useful?
Mm-hmm.
There's that guy who wrote The War of Art. And he had this idea where he had a whole paragraph. I think it came from the Odyssey or something. It was about being creative. It was a paragraph. And he like wrote it down. And before he would begin his work for the day, he would read it. It was the same paragraph, and he would read it before he would start every day. There might be something in there. That is a kind of affirmation, like a ritual. I think maybe that might be helpful. Writing the same thing down over and over and over again, I don't think will work so well. But I think if you like had a paragraph,
or you had the sentences right next to your desk, so when you sat down before you opened the computer, you look and you read them
out loud, because you won't see them after a while.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know, dear listener, if you try that, let us know if it works, or if you do try that, or come to Process Group and tell us all about it.
Then she gives you some creative affirmations you could use. Creativity is the creator's will for me.
Seems weird to me that she relies so much on this creator God stuff. I guess you think you're doing it because God is making you do it. There's the censor, though.
Oh, yes.
We don't want to forget about the censor. That's what the affirmations are for, is because you have the censor in your brain telling you bad things. And then the affirmation is supposed to counteract the censor. She says censors loathe anything that sounds like real self-worth. They immediately start up with the imposter routine. Who do you think you are? It's as though our entire collective unconscious sat up late nights watching Walt Disney's 101 Dalmatians and practicing Cruella de Vil's delivery for scathing indictments. I do remember the puppies.
Cruella de Vil, Cruella de Vil. If she doesn't get you, no evil thing will.
Wow, that was impressive. That's been living rent-free in your brain.
I've got so many of them. Anyway.
Really? Okay.
But-
wow, I'm actually really impressed.
Here's one of those things that is very true, but I'm not sure why. So many of us have a voice in our head that tells us things are no good, that we're not doing well, that this isn't worth it. It can't just be for artists. It has to be across the board. But there's some part of a human brain that just tells us not to do stuff.
Oh, negative self-talk is real. I've got it real bad.
Everyone has some zingers, I guess, and it's a matter of how much power it has over you. So your brain is going to automatically come up with these horrible things to say, or these little needle points, or these like little things that tear you down. And so if you have some affirmations going, it's kind of silly, the statement, but then again, the negative censor stuff is kind of silly too.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a bunch of children on a playground throwing taunts at each other. Yes, they're all children taunts, but that's what you need to have.
And she says, so just like the affirmations, you're actually supposed to write these down. She says, you will be amazed at the rotten things your subconscious will blurt out. Write them down. These blurts flag your personal negative core beliefs. They hold the key to your freedom, and their ugly little claws make a list of your personal blurts.
Maybe this would be a good point to transition to the second part of the chapter, which was supposed to be, halfway through this podcast, but it's going long. The comment about writing things down is tied into this idea of morning pages. And for the first week at least, she asked us to set your clock 1/2 hour early and get up and write 3 pages of longhand stream of conscious morning writing. How'd that go? How's that going? Because we're on Wednesday right now. So if we start on Sunday.
I did it. I just didn't wake up early all the time.
Okay.
I gave that up after like the first day.
But is it the first thing that you do?
No, I get coffee.
Okay, but but if you're not talking to anyone, you're not doing other stuff. You're sitting down first thing to do the pages.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. How about you?
I've been getting up early, and I don't know if I will continue it next week. I might try to see if I can't work it into my regular schedule a little bit more, because that's darn early in the morning.
Yeah. We're busy people, folks.
So you're not supposed to reread these pages or allow anyone else to read them. Basically, it's just writing for 3 pages, about 30 minutes, just whatever is in your head. We're not going to obviously talk about what we're writing about, but do you think there's any difference? Are you just writing, this is what I'm thinking right now, I'm writing this down on my page, I think I have to get somewhere else to go, maybe this is the list of things I should do today, boy, this is boring, and now I'm doing more writing? Or are you actually diving into some deep stuff?
Well, I followed her prompts. She has a whole bunch of prompts, so I didn't.
Oh, you're using the task that these things are as the prompts to write.
Am I not supposed to?
Oh, I was picking, I've been doing these exercises kind of on my own separately. There's a number of 10 exercises.
Oh, shit, I did it wrong already. I've done it wrong.
So I basically just sit down at the page and whatever's in my head and I work through it. You're actually giving yourself a task to do.
I don't want to. I hate writing from nothing. I hate it. I need some literature, a paragraph. I need to write in response to something that has been written.
Okay, I think this is actually important. I think you need to write from nothing.
Okay, fine. Fine.
No, this is great. This is the whole business about not getting stuff right. One of the things about making a mistake and figuring out you make the mistake is that you don't have to make it the next time. So this is how you're doing it. And I think that since you never write without some kind of inspiration or some kind of prompt, this is a great opportunity for you to see what happens if you don't have a prompt. Because it doesn't matter what you're writing. We're going to throw it away anyway. So it can be absolutely utter crap. But why don't you try doing it without a prompt?
So okay, dear listener, I just want to show you. You can't see anything. There are 10 prompts here.
No, they're 10 tasks.
There are 10 tasks.
They're not prompts, they're tasks.
So these are I have to do another, you're not just doing morning pages.
Yeah.
And you're not just going on an artist date. You're also, after you do those things, that's just like basic every day, every week things. Then on top of that, you had to fit into your schedule writing these other journals.
Which is why you're supposed to get up half an hour early to make space. The idea is the artist way. You should be spending about 10 hours, 7 to 10 hours a week doing these various things.
Who said this? Did she say that?
I thought it said 7 to 10 hours.
It's like a college class.
Yeah, it's like a class.
I'm not spending
It's all
7
in.
to 10 hours on these prompts. I'm just not.
Well, okay. No. 7 to 10 hours overall. So you've already got half an hour every day for your pages. So that is 3.5 hours right there.
Okay.
So you've got another 3 hours that you're working on these
Divided up throughout a week.
Yes. And if you throw your artist date in, you have 2 hours done right there. Okay. So we'll just keep going in the morning pages and see if we have any breakthroughs. I found that a lot of it was just kind of random writing, but I did address certain ideas that she discussed in this chapter, like the blurts and stuff like that. I don't think I got terribly deep on it, but it wasn't just simply random thoughts. But I haven't actually got anything that I'm like, ooh, wow. So, and you're not supposed to get anything out of it for the first bit of time.
Okay. Well, I will check in next week or the next time we podcast, and I'll give you a real assessment of how it's going for me.
Right. Because morning pages are all 3 months.
Do you think you're going to keep doing them, or is it too soon to know?
I have no idea. I'm going to keep doing them while we're doing the book, and then I'll make the decision.
Okay.
But I will give it a really good shake. So the other next task on the list, number 2, is the artist date. Have you done your artist date yet?
Yes.
What did you do?
I don't know if this is considered an artist date, but I spent time working on the gingerbread haunted house.
Were you alone?
Yes.
Then it's an artist date.
It was fun.
Okay.
I wish I could just do that forever.
All right. I think that's an artist date.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be pretty glorious. I'll take pictures and put it on the website when I'm done with it.
All right. I think you can only use it for one artist date. Like you haven't put it aside until next week's artist date. You're working on to finish it, right?
Yes, but I started working on it. Yes, next week I think I'm going to go see a movie.
Yep. Because I think a date is something you're excited to do. Mm-hmm. So it can't just be, and I'll put another 2 hours in on this thing I've been working on. But yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah. How about you? What did you do?
I have not done mine yet. Because first of all, I've had a lot of life this week. But on Thursday is when the art gallery that I want to go to is open. And so I'm going to go on Thursday to an art gallery.
By yourself?
By myself.
Excellent.
And then I'm going to go to a coffee shop afterwards. By myself.
Are you going to do any work there?
I don't have to. I can just contemplate the art. I have a notebook that I'm recording stuff for the Artist Way. So I'm suspecting I'll bring the notebook on. I'll probably write some thoughts about what it felt like to see the art, if I felt like it had an effect on me.
Nice.
So then there's 8 more of these tasks, and we're just going to look at one that we both have done because it's a fun one. But I think we will read what she says, and we'll see, does this feel like something that would be useful? And then we'll give our response, okay?
Okay. Number 4. Time travel. She calls it time travel. Essentially, you're just like, think back to a time when. I don't know why she calls it time travel. Select and write out one horror story from your Monster Hall of Fame. You do not need to write long or much, but do jot down whatever details come back to you. The room you were in, the way people looked at you, the way you felt, what your partner said or didn't say when you told them about it. Include whatever rankles you about the incident. And she has an example. And then I remember she gave me this fakey smile and patted my head. Wow. Cartoony.
You may find it cathartic to draw a sketch of your old monster or clip out an image that evokes the incident for you. Cartoon trashing your monster, or at least draw a nice red X through it. This program is not just for writers. So yes, if you're not someone that does a lot of writing and you're more artistic, a piece of artwork would make more sense. She also focuses very much on trying to put yourself back in that very moment and how it felt.
It's very therapy.
Yeah.
All right. So you said you wrote about this one.
I wrote about this one. I wasn't quite as, for me, so much of it was actually kind of built up with a bunch of different things feeding into it that it wasn't a very experiential piece. It wasn't like, this was this and like really putting myself back into it. It was more like, well, let's analyze this. I'm not sure if it counts if you're analyzing versus experiencing.
It's not me, is it? It's not me.
Why would it be you?
Because I was mean to you when I looked at your draft, I felt bad. I didn't mean to be mean, but I was way too critical, dear listener. I'll own that. I was being way too critical. I was just I'm not even going to go into what I was thinking. I just feel really bad that I gave you that kind of feedback, and I will regret it to the rest of my days. It's not me, is it?
No, it's not you. And also, for the record,
oh God,
when you gave me that feedback, what I thought was Renee's wrong.
And that's true. And Kim is so healthy. She's so awesome.
And at this point, she brings it. This is pretty good. Or this thing here too, but and here, yeah, she just totally doesn't get it.
Yeah. So yes, there you go. Whew. It wasn't me.
How long have you been carrying that one around?
Oh, I'll carry it around forever.
Oh,
it's
there you
one
go.
of those things. That's why I go to therapy. Yeah, don't worry. There's plenty of guilt in my head about that one. I'll carry that to the end of my days.
Do you want to do yours first, or?
No, you go first.
Okay, so my one first. Actually, so this is a great one. It doesn't actually have to do anything with writing. So I went back to childhood. In my elementary middle school was a small school. I went to Catholic school. We had the same kids the whole time through, pretty much, except for ones that dropped out. But, it was not large. And the way they had it was the 8th grade classes in their curriculum, would have a drama class in which they put on a play. So from the time I was in kindergarten, I would go see 3 plays a year in the auditorium. We'd actually go over to the other middle school, was like a couple blocks away. So we'd walk over there and we'd sit in the metal folding chairs. I guess this is experiential, but this isn't where I was experiencing. I'm just setting the scene. And we would see 3 plays a year. We'd see a fairy tale, we'd see a comedy, and we'd see a drama. Although we didn't get to see the dramas until like we were 3rd or 4th grade because they were too serious for like little kids.
This sounds lovely.
I know.
You're setting this up. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is wonderful.
And so it's in your head as you're going through the school that someday you'll be in the 8th grade and you'll be up there. And so I got to 8th grade. And in fact, I got up there even earlier because they didn't have enough kids for the Peter Rabbit play they put on first. So I got to be like Crawley the Crow or something and flap around on stage. I was the first person up there. I made these wings that were really great. I had a great old time. So, and I may have actually been in the comedy as well. I can't remember. But then finally, and this is possibly a bit of reinterpretation, but from my memory, then they did the drama the last trimester, and that was when I was in the class. And I think we had tryouts, like nothing too major, but like they wanted to have the whole experience of a drama class. And the play they were putting on was a courtroom drama. And the main role in it was the judge, because they were on stage the whole time and they were commenting on stuff all the way through. And then there were all the characters that were involved making accusations and such. But those were all more minor parts. So I wanted to be the judge because she was reading the most lines. And I and another girl, who I will not say, were the 2 people that signed up for it or tried out for it. And this other girl, we need to give her a name.
Nancy.
We'll say Nancy.
Nancy.
So Nancy was also trying out. And the thing about Nancy was, I won't say she was my nemesis, but she was one of the girls that was kind of mean to me. She was a
mean girl.
Yeah, she was a mean girl. And we had been in school since kindergarten, and I knew her for other things too. And she wasn't like super mean to me, but she was just a mean girl, and I was a shy girl. So that's the dynamic. But anyway, Nancy wasn't terribly academically gifted. She was the troublemaker. She was not from a great home, because these things in a small town. I don't know how good she was at the tryout. I can't even remember that part. So that's the setup. You've got Kim, the quiet, shy girl that has been in a bunch of plays, and all that, really wants to do this, and you've got Nancy, who also apparently really wants to do this and has a more peppered past and record. This is what I remember, was that the teacher, when they were reading out the parts, she said, so for this part here, we had 2 people that were going for it. And, I looked at kind of what they had done, and I looked at how they were doing academically. And I just decided had to flip a coin. And so Nancy got the part. What I also recall later on was some other students saying, when she said the bit about the academics, I said, well, that must mean that Kim's got it for sure.
Yeah.
So in the end, Nancy, I don't think she ever quite memorized her lines all the way through. Geez. She was at a desk, so she could have some of it there, and and she got through it. But For whatever reason she wanted to do it, the actual doing it was not enjoyable for her enough to put into work to memorize the lines.
Right. So you think they just threw her the bone?
No, what I think is, first of all, I think that there was every reason just to give me the part. So the fact that the teacher decided to make this deal about like flipping a coin meant that she kind of did want to give it to Nancy.
Why?
Because Nancy hadn't actually shown any academic interest in all this stuff. And finally, there was something that she wanted to do. And that could be one of those moments where this girl could have like got the acting bug or could have had the positive reinforcement from the community or something that could have possibly pushed her ahead to do more positive things.
I see.
And I'm sure the teacher actually flipped the coin because I believe that, that she wasn't going to say, I'm just going to give it to this girl because maybe it'll help her out. I think it was this is a Catholic school. As far as she was concerned, maybe she flipped the coin and that was God calling the shot. But
oh boy.
So the thing is that there was a strong preference against me for her to decide to just throw it up any other way. I was studious and I had been in the plays. I had volunteered and done this stuff. So the other narrative is that Kim had worked her butt off and she deserved to do this. So the two things she was weighing was a girl that could potentially get a whole bunch out of this or someone that had been hardworking and deserved it because she'd done hard work. But nowhere in that equation was that either of us had the talent to deserve it. Because the other part about it is if a kid was seriously good, you'd put them in the part. And so I guess one thing I got out of this was that I wasn't talented in acting.
Oh, wow. See, my brain didn't even go there. Wow.
And it meant I could be a hard worker and I could do the work and participate in stuff like that. But I shouldn't expect that someone would look and say, oh, Kim is very talented. Wow. And there are other things I was talented in. So it's not like I was martyrdom or anything like that. But that was one of those situations where, like, we're talking about something that probably did wedge itself in my head. It wasn't something that was negative on me. Rather, it was if I had been in that play, if I had gotten the lead role, then I might have had a very different perspective of myself going on because, look, shy little Kim was the star of the show and pulled it off. And that might have given me the boost that I needed to pursue other things later on. I'll need to edit that down. Anyway.
That was a good story. I don't think you need to edit it down. But it's interesting because I would have totally taken the it doesn't matter what I do narrative. I would have been like, I'm all studious and all this stuff, and no matter what I do, I still can't win. They tell me that I'll earn stuff if I try hard, and all the, they throw this carrot around, and then they just took the carrot and threw it out the window.
It's because I got acknowledgement in other stuff. I mean, I knew that I was a good student. I knew that I could do these things. I knew that they valued me for those things. It was more a matter of this is something that you don't have.
I just don't like how that teacher said, weighing in things that are obviously not right and then flipping a coin.
Well, she didn't flip it in front of us. She did
No,
that.
I don't. That bothers me a lot.
And I will say I had not thought of that story for years. It's a great story. And doing this kind of work, you're unearthing stuff. So as a writer, this is also really useful to just get your brain thinking about these things.
Do you think it still haunts you in some way or like messes with you? Does it create any kind of sensors?
No, but I think it prevented certain other things that happened and overall built kind of a, not so much an individual sensor, more of the crust kind of feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's see what you got.
Ooh. I'm not naming names. I'm not naming gender. Talk about social consequences. This might come back to me. No, maybe cut that out. Okay. I'm in school. I'll say college level. I'm not going to say which level. I am really nervous, like the first few weeks of school. I feel like I don't deserve to be here, even though I got really good grades, and I certainly did deserve to be there. I had like this crippling doubt and fear, and this is premedicated Renee, right? I did not have my Zoloft. And I have severe anxiety, but I'm keeping it together, and I'm really nervous. I'm just nervous around being people. I think, these people are really smart, and they probably see right through me, the janky person that I am, all this other stuff. So it kind of affected my work in the beginning. I was firing off blanks in a way. Like I'd write a really good poem and it'd get workshopped and everyone was like, that was really great. And then I'd write another one and it was just god awful. So we're going back to that thing where I could not seem. Also, I'm on a deadline, right? So some of the stuff I'm writing, and also it was said on the syllabus that these are all drafts and that later on, you get to revise them and then the teacher will look at them, which actually never happened. So this teacher had no intention of reading revisions. So my drafts are pretty raw and I get a lot of ideas from workshop, which is supposed to be the point. But apparently that was not what this teacher had in mind. Then I take another class and it's the same teacher, same semester. And one of the assignments was to write some poem in response to some literature. And I did. And it was one of my good ones. It was like one of the ones where I somehow pulled it off. And okay, so it wasn't a crappy one. It was a good one. So I was just like exploding everywhere. It's a good poem, right? I put a lot of effort into it. I'm like, I can't mess up. And I'm like, I really wrote it and I put all my effort into it. And, everyone's like, hey, that was a good poem, good one, and gave me feedback. And then I got an email from this teacher. Can you email me the poem? And I'm like, oh, I'm getting recognition. Awesome. Maybe they know of a publication or something. Great. And I submit it to them and I say, do you have any feedback for me? What else would I do with this? Never hear a thing ever again. Teacher never mentions it again. It's never brought up. And it didn't take me long to realize that teacher probably was checking to see if I plagiarized. I didn't, obviously, because that teacher just wanted to know, I guess. And it makes sense. But also I was like, what the hell? You've seen my other work. Yeah, sometimes it sucks, but sometimes it's pretty good. So, and it's also like, can you give people a break maybe for the first couple months when they first start? They've never done this before. So
you think they basically took it and ran it through a checker back then?
Maybe, yeah. And then I think they just didn't want me there. To follow that up, that teacher, I think trying to make up for that, they asked if I would work with them, like, and we'll do one-on-one learning, as this was a whole thing you could do. I didn't want to. Alarm bells are blaring in my head. They're blaring, but I did it because I'm kind of afraid of this teacher, actually. So I didn't want to say no to them. So I went ahead with it. And so I'm taking this one-on-one with them for a while, getting credit for it. I'm trying to write on a deadline, very hard to write a poem a week. You're afraid of any consequences for not writing something well. And I wrote one. That was a good one. I came in, I read it. This teacher laughed their ass off. They thought it was hilarious. Yeah, it was pretty funny. But I had to get inspiration from anywhere. I was going anywhere in my head to get whatever I could out on the page. And this one was kind of mean to somebody I knew. It was actually a teacher that I knew. I worked very close with them for a long time. It just came to me. I just wrote it and I had to turn something in. So I did. And I turned it in and this teacher laughed their ass off and they said, there's a publication that I want to put this in. My friend is reviving a poetry magazine and it's all about teachers and I want this poem. And I was like, I need to think about that. And I felt horrible and I felt guilty and I was like, I don't want to publish that. I mean, it was funny but it wasn't, I don't want to publish something where I said something bad about somebody. Okay. I mean, they're not named. I don't even think that as person I would ever even find this poem, but it just didn't feel right to me. So I emailed the teacher and I said, listen, I'm really glad you liked this poem, but I don't feel comfortable publishing it because I don't want to be hurtful. This isn't something I would necessarily want to publish. And they emailed me the nastiest email. Well, why are you in this program? And why are you doing this? This teacher really just wanted that poem. And they were so nasty. And I was like, oh, crap. And I did not feel safe. And creatively, and I'm just nervous. And I'm like, oh, my God, what have I done? This is awful. Like, it's just going from bad to worse. And I just relented. And I said, fine, take it. Just take it. Fine. I felt awful. I felt really, really bad. And then my dumb ass thought it would be the best thing to do is to own up to it to that teacher I wrote about and show it to them.
Oh, Renee, did you not have anyone to talk to about this stuff?
I didn't.
That's really rough.
And I felt so guilty. I was like, well, I'm just going to show them and be like, look, it's not you, but it was inspired, but it's a joke and it's funny. And that was the end of that friendship. So that was my bad in the end because I was stupid. But leading up to it, it was creative abuse. To me, that was a horror story.
I mean, what it did was it really isolated you from the program you were in. It made you uncomfortable around the teachers. It probably, going forward, made you more distrustful. You said you felt like an outsider to begin with, and you probably felt like even more of an outsider afterwards, and just someone that didn't belong there.
Yep, exactly.
Have you worked on that one with your therapist?
I have, yes.
So for mine, one of the things that came to my mind was recognizing that small decisions like that can have effects later on how you perceive yourself. It was a decision by that one person. It did not reflect me as a whole or me as an artist, but just an acknowledgement that part of the reason why I'm not very ambitious because I grew up in a place where I wasn't really given the reward for being ambitious. That was a long time ago. I've moved on. I'm in different places, but now that I'm in a place where people are more ambitious, that was the situation I was in, and I need to recognize that I was timid because I was around people that were timid and just were not that kind of energy or that kind of forward momentum or that kind of like just take a risk. So as I'm moving forward as an artist, I should recognize that there still is that core part of me, and then there's the parts that I've learned and take into account that there's a risk aversion in it that I have. So that's what I would say I got out of this exercise. What would you say you got out of that exercise? Remembering that person, putting in the stark terms, and analyzing it as an adult who's much older person that's much further away from that.
Unfortunately, there's two sides to that. It just reminds me that this person is still out there and is still active. And if they wanted to, say I got published and made it, what's to stop them from saying things?
So part of it's to remind you that you're still not part of the group. And even if you were succeeding, yes, there are people out there that would still lock you out.
Yeah, it does scare me, even though I know it's probably unfounded. It's just a core belief in my brain sometimes, and I push it aside because I think it's ridiculous. I don't think it's going to happen. You know, that's what my brain does. It creates these very vivid stories of catastrophe. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's going to happen, but I also think it's going to happen at the same time. It's like I can talk myself out of it, which is what makes me right. At the same time, it makes me realize that this is just a common theme. A lot of the consequences I worry about have very similar themes, and a lot of them are unfounded. They just come from a place from long ago. I had a hard time in school. I always felt very isolated all the time. So my brain is just creating ways in which this isolation will continue if I'm creative. It creates consequences to creativity, which is awful. It's almost like it's the bully has taken residence up in my brain.
Okay.
And I would not have caught that had I not written about it in detail.
These are stories that we maybe remember. Obviously, you did not forget that one, but you're looking at it in different contexts. What these tasks do not do is say what you should do from it, other than crossing a big red X through that teacher you hate. That's a bit of catharsis there, but there's not anything further in this task that says this is what you do with it.
Right. That is not helpful. Thanks a lot, Julia Cameron. Do I trust my traumas with her? No, I shouldn't. I should have been more careful. No, I'm just kidding.
So this is a sense of safety, this chapter. And we'll have to see if bringing all this stuff up and examining it, will we get more in the book that says, okay, here's how you deal with this. Bird by Bird was great with saying, you know, this is a shitty situation you're in. Okay, try this technique right here. Let's give it a try and see how it goes. And we'll have to see if, as we go along, we get more actionable tasks.
I will say that Julia Cameron does follow it up. There are, a bunch more prompts that do kind of address it. Like one of them, she says, list 3 old champions of your creative self-worth. This is the Hall of Champions. Like, I'm not going to say that she doesn't follow it up with some kind of support after you bleed your heart out on a journal prompt. But still, it wasn't that effective. It was like, okay, yeah. I mean, you have some champions. Me. So it's got...
So this is a series of prompts. I think it's supposed to put you in a slightly different mindset. And maybe along with the morning pages, it's going to get something for you to process. Going through this seriously, I pulled up some interesting stuff. I'm not quite sure if it's going to magically impact my writing. I don't see any difference at this point. At the end of the week, we have a check-in. So at the end of the week, we write down kind of what we did and whether it was useful. And one of the questions is, were there any other issues this week that were considered significant for your recovery? So there is kind of a sum up. So maybe we're kind of building the program ourselves and we'll dig from that. I'm not sure.
I will say, you know what was helpful? It was actually sharing this with you and you, dear listeners. No, for real. Like that story, I keep it close to home because I'm afraid even just saying it out loud.
And now it's going out to the world.
Should we not? Should we cut it?
No, it's going. You know what? This is actually a really good example that it's not going to have social consequences.
Okay.
And you doing it is an act of showing it doesn't have social consequences. And one of the best things to do when you've got an aversion or you've got something that is hanging you up is to continually push through it. Because the more times you push through it, the less power it has.
I feel like that should have been something in this book that is lacking. Tell a friend.
No.
I
know. I think, first of all, it's assuming you have the right friends to tell.
That's true.
We're talking about shadow artists here who have been told not to be creative their entire lives. Do you think sharing this stuff with one of those people is a good idea?
I mean, I don't know. I just told that story to a bunch of listeners.
But you did it in the company of me, who was supportive of you.
That's true.
This is, I think, for people that are really in deep. They need to work with this book themselves and not tell anybody and not share until they feel better about themselves or until they come up with things. It's better to have somebody outside you to say that person was messed up or this is how you should look at it or I can see that pain. You have a right to be angry. But if you don't have somebody like that in your life, it's probably better just to do it in your hidden morning pages.
That's true. That's true. I had some advice as a composition teacher, very odd advice, but it was stuff that applied to me. Right before the final, I told students now, this applies to not only like a couple people in this room, but I don't know who you are, but if this doesn't apply to you, just ignore it. And I would say, for some of you, the best course of action is to not tell people that you have a final coming up and that you're coming here on a different, day. And maybe it's best to just not tell your parents or your ride or somebody that you have a very important thing to do today and to keep things going as they always have been, and then they won't know. Because some people like to sabotage. I know that sounds ridiculous, but stuff like that happened to me.
But yeah, so you could look at the artist way as something you're doing. You're not telling anyone until you got it all worked out, and then you come out to them as an artist or gay, and then you're all set.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah. Okay, so next week is recovering a sense of identity.
Okay. And next time I will follow the prompts. Like I will write morning pages every day, but not follow prompts doing it because that's separate.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to a movie next week, I think.
And we'll see. We can evaluate the two different versions and you can say if you got something more out of one than the other.
Okay. And we'll try not to go on for so long.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Thank you guys so much for listening. I know this is very different than AI stuff. And I know this is a lot of like listening to us process it. A book like this is not like we can tell you what's in it. So that can give you an idea of if you want to read it or not. But this is so different than any of the other books that we've had to deal with.
Yeah. It's very metaphysical. Woo. It's, but it's so popular. It's important to do.
If it works, I'm all in for it.
Yeah. Placebos are good.
So I guess the best thing that the listeners can see is that if they decide that it's actually working for us, then maybe it would work for them.
So you know what I want to do, Kim? I want to interview a therapist on this podcast for this book.
That'd be interesting.
I should find one.
Okay.
Because I think this is something that either therapists are aware of and are like, oh, be careful of that book. Or I wonder if some of them use it.
So yeah, so you can see maybe we're guinea pigs for you to decide if this actually is a worthwhile book. And if nothing else, we can be entertaining.
Well, here's the thing. That's what makes this podcast valuable. Because we actually do the activities
yes.
on ourselves.
So you don't have to.
Yes, pretty We're the test subjects.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. And we will be back in 2 weeks with Recovering a Sense of Identity.
Yes. All right, dear listener.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Words to Write By is produced by Renee Nelson and Kim Smuda-Addo. Our theme music is Roll Back the Carpet by Cool Cat Music. Have a great day. We don't have time for that.
I don't know. You
The
sure?
podcast. No, that's your therapy session. That's your morning pages.
Sure.